Here's my review of The Monkey. Now, this is a horror movie I was very interested in from the first teaser. It's from the director of Osgood Perkins, who directed Longlegs from last year, which I really enjoyed. And honestly, I think that I enjoyed this movie even more simply because of just how much fun this movie is. For example, what I mean by that is this is a horror movie, but it is not scary at all. But I mean, I don't really think it's trying to be. In many ways, it's really just a dark comedy. That's what this movie is. And it is very, very, very bloody. And that's where the comedy comes from. And where it's just so over the top where you have to just kind of accept it. And there's so many scenes in this movie where it's like you can just tell like the way they talk is just not how people talk. Like where there's the twin brothers, Bill and Hal, and then or with their mother, played by Tatiana Maslany, who I will say, like, after how much I just couldn't stand her in She-Hulk, I will say it was nice seeing her in a role that I actually really liked her in. And I will say, like, there's so much, like, for example, like, with this whole monkey toy, the idea is that this monkey toy, basically, when you wind it up, somebody dies in some terrible way. And like I said, it's so over the top where it is just a straight up comedy movie. And even the way people talk is just like no one talks like that. Like they don't even really know what to say because of just how absurd it is, and especially with the violence. Like, you also have cops saying, like, when they hear about, like, when there's this terrible death caused by this monkey, it's like, oh, it's like that restaurant, Spaghetti City. It's like, why would a cop say that? That is just so not appropriate to say when you're talking about a victim that you found with his organs out. It's like, that's the kind of movie that this is. It is a straight up comedy that is ultra violent. But there is a little bit of, I will say, some more characterization that allows this movie to be a little bit more than just an over-the-top dark comedy, especially considering, like, we have, like, they do this thing where, like, in the future, like, we start off with, like, the twin brothers that would, like, when they're young, and then we flash forward, like, 30 years when they're in their 40s or something like that. And then he, like, Bill's, like, divorced. He's, like, got his weekend with his kid. And you have stuff like that has, like, that slightest amount of drama. But it's, like, when the movie's so over the top, it's kind of hard to take it seriously. And I will say it does a good job of getting me to care, considering how over the top this movie is. And it's interesting because there's so much tension. I don't know if tension would be the right word. Like, there is some sad parts. For example, like they have there is a scene like in the movie. I mean, spoiler alert, but all my reviews are spoilers. You should know that by now. But whereas I don't remember if it's Bill or Hal, where he's trying to kill his brother because he can't stand him. So he winds the monkey because they know at this point every time you wind the monkey, someone dies in some horrific way. But it accidentally kills their mother by her getting, like, a brain aneurysm. And, yeah, it did kind of shock me a little bit. But, like, this movie, I don't really know if it wanted you to feel sad. Because I really think it was sad. But it's like, when this movie is what it is, and with its comedic tone, you just can't. It's just too funny. I mean, this is a movie where there's a scene where there's a stripper with the monkey head, and just to prove how much of a nightmare it is for our main characters. And that's just what makes it so crazy. And throughout this movie, like it was kind of like, even though I got the vibe from all the trailers, like, I would say very early into this movie, I basically figured out that, okay, this movie is just a straight up comedy. It's not really trying to take itself seriously or really be dramatic. Because, like, I mean, even when they're at, like, funerals, there's this dark humor, and, like, it's just a funny scene. And then, like I said, you have the monkey head tormenting these guys when they're older as a stripper. I mean, it's only one scene, which is like, oh, okay, this is just insane. And even just the way it ends with Hal trying to reconnect with his son, and they're just driving through the street when this monkey just keeps going off, and then just everyone's just dying. And it's like at this point in the movie, you're just like, this is just hilarious. And that's what it is. This movie is a comedy. Like, if you go into this movie wanting to be scared, I think that you're going to be very disappointed. Like, because it is not scary at all. This movie is a comedy, but what makes it funny is the over-the-top gore that you would see in a horror movie. Because yes, it is a horror comedy. Of course, it's based on the Stephen King short. Stephen King, horror, obviously. But I don't think it's really trying to be scary at all. And if it is, it's kind of a failure. The only scene that was kind of like shocking, what I would say is probably the death of their mother. But it's just because it's like that one actually feels like it's kind of serious. And with the reason why she dies and what was happening, it's just like that's what makes it creepy and more just like unsettling. But yeah, this movie, if you just want a funny, over the top comedy, I think that you will really like this movie. If you like just these insane kills, then you will probably have a fun time with this movie. And yeah, that's one of the things with this movie. There's really not much to talk about because in terms of a story, like there's a story, sure. Basically, them trying to just it's really just this father-son bonding story in many ways. But it feels like it's the main reason this movie was made just because they had a lot of ideas for fun kills. Because in terms of story, there's not really much here. In terms of characters, there is some character work, which I enjoyed. But it's really just you come for just the over-the-top insanity of it. And if you like that, you are going to like this movie. I thought it was a blast. I got what I wanted. And yeah, it was just a really fun movie. If you want some over-the-top violence and just want to have a good laugh, definitely check out this movie.